Okay guys, welcome back to the channel and to this review of the Codex supplement Salamanders. I like this book. There's a lot of fluff in here. Salamanders play a little bit differently to how they used to, based on the fact that their chapter trait changed ever so slightly. However, I do like some of the stuff that is in here. So, massive thank you to Games Workshop for sending this out, of course. But without further ado guys, let's jump straight in. Now, the only thing I do notice in here is there is still a lot of mention and pictures with a lot of the older units, for example. So as much as there's a lot of intercessors and stuff here, you will see pictures of Vanguard veterans, for example, older dreadnoughts as well. Of course, lots of pictures with the new Primaris range in as well, but when you really dig down into it, you'll see that there's a lot of mini marines still in the Codex. So obviously we've got the Honor Guard there, Thunderfire cannons with the Tech Marines. You've got the Vanguard veterans here, of course, with the two older dreadnoughts. And even in this list, look, you've got the champions, you've got the land speeder, you've got the old dreadnoughts, you've got more Stern Guard here as well. So, you know, there is a lot of these guys because of their new allegiance ability. Doesn't mean that in Primaris Marines aren't bad. I think you've just got to be very careful and play them in a very different way. So, we've got Vulcan Heston and Adrax Adjuton. Both, of course, are in here, so 140 points for Adjuton and 130 for Hestan. Pretty good models. The Adrax Adjuton model is absolutely fantastic. You've seen that guy previewed all over the community page, so I'm not going to go through all of his details, but it is pretty good. Moving forward, however, so these are the Salamanders traits. And you get Promethean Cult. Whilst the tactical doctrine is active, when resolving an attack made with a flame or melter weapon by a model with this ability, add 1 to the to wound rolls. Now, realistically, when you first think of that, you tell me 3 models in the Primaris range that have flamers. The first ones that obviously come to mind are aggressors, and the next one that you probably think of is the Invictus Warsuit with its flamer. You've also got a Redemptor Dreadnought with a heavy flamer, and you've got hand flamers on Intercessor Sergeants, and then of course the new guy. So it seems like that this trait isn't really geared towards Primaris, and I don't think it is. But you can take a lot of very, very cool stuff with this. So you can take, for example, bikes, speeders, dreadnoughts, assault squads, Vanguard veterans, even your normal tactical squads. Couple of things to point out as well. Land Raider Redeemers with +1 to wound on their Strength 6 flamer. That's pretty good. And I think Razorbacks can still take twin heavy flamers. And of course you've got multi-melters on the Land Raiders as well as the Storm Ravens. So, you know, there is a few other things there, but it's very much geared, I feel, towards older units. However, there is a number of things that you can do to counteract that. What Salamanders tend to be good at is very close range. A little bit of melee, a little bit of close range support, obviously with the flamers and the melters. And you can actually kind of stand your own ground. They're not a dedicated combat army, but they can fight a little bit better than other Marines, I find. The Warlord traits, there's some fantastic Warlord traits here. Anvil of Strength, add 2 to your Warlord's Strength characteristic. That's brilliant. If you give him a Thunderhammer, he's suddenly Strength 12. You've got Miraculous Constitution, gives him a 6-up Feel No Pain, and you regain 1 wound every turn. Never Give Up, you select a Salamanders unit within 6 of your Warlord, and they count as having objective secured. This, on a unit of aggressors, combined with a stratagem a little bit further later, is absolutely worth taking. You've got Forge Master, which is add 2 to his toughness, so you can have a toughness 6 Space Marine, or if you run a Gravis Captain, you can have a toughness 7 Space Marine, which is just insane. Lord of Fire, you can re-roll the dice to determine the number of attacks made with flame weapons whilst their unit is within 6 of your Warlord. That's okay, it's pretty good. And Patient and Determined. Once per shooting phase and or fight phase, when resolving an attack made by this Warlord, do not make a hit roll, it automatically hits. That's fantastic. Considering in the fight phase, you get a free reroll to hit and wound, and then obviously if it's on a captain, you're going to be getting reroll 1s anyway, and I think this is very good to run with Thunder Hammers or Power Fists, because obviously you're then hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, you can reroll a 2 to hit anyway because of a Salamander trait, but then just having an automatic hit is fantastic. So very, very cool. Adrex Adjuton has Lord of Fire, so you can re-roll the number of dice, and Vulcan Hestan has +2 to his strength. So the Relics of Nocturne, I think there's some okay, but none of them really kind of stand out massively, apart from the Drake Smiter. So the Drake Smiter is a Thunder Hammer, okay, but it's ×2 strength, -4 AP instead of -3, and flat 3 damage. However, if you make a wound roll of a 6, it becomes 6 damage. That's pretty good. So I do like that one. Vulcan's Sigil. A little bit complex worded here, but add 1 to the attack characteristics of a model with this relic. In addition, once per battle at the start of the fight phase, a model with this relic can hold aloft the Vulcan Sigil. Until the end of that phase, add 1 to attack characteristics of models in friendly Salamander units whilst they are within 6 inches of a model. So that means he would get +2. That's pretty decent, but I think there's other stuff that you would probably take over that. You've got the Wrath of Prometheus, which is a mastercrafted bolt gun. Strength 5, -2, 3 damage. That's pretty decent. You've got the Tome of Velcorna, which is for a librarian. You can add 1 to the psychic test when casting something from the Promethean discipline. It's okay. Salamander's Mantle, when resolving an attack made against a model with this relic, subtract 1 from the wound rolls. That's pretty decent. Nocturne's Vengeance is a model with a combi flamer only. And basically it means that it's a mastercrafted combi weapon, which means that it's 2 damage. And when resolving an attack made using a mastercrafted flamer profile, don't make a hit roll, you automatically hit. But the fact that it's a 2 damage flamer at -1, and it's a 2 damage bolt gun at -1, combined with the +1 to wound whilst the tactical doctrine is active, it's okay. And then we've got the Helm of Draclos for a Primaris model only. Add 1 to his wound characteristic and subtract 1 from leadership of enemy models whilst within 6. It's okay. You've then got the Special Issue War Gear. Look, most of this is pretty copy-paste from a lot of the other supplements with a couple of changes. So, Adamantine Mantle is a 5-up ignore damage. That's pretty decent. Artificer Armor is a 2-up, 5-up. Mastercrafted Weapon is +1 damage. Digital Weapons does a mortal wound if you hit. The Obsidian Aquila. When a friendly chapter model within 6 inches of this relic loses a wound, roll a dice, and on a 6, the wound is not lost. Promethean Plate. Wounds of 1, 2, and 3 always fail. Dragon Rage Bolts, so if you get to make a single hit. If you hit, you then get to make D6 to wound rolls, but they are a damage characteristic 1 and armor penetration of -1. So that's okay. It would be handy on a sergeant, I suppose. And then the Drake Blade, which is a power sword. When resolving an attack made with this weapon, an unmodified wound roll of a 6, the target suffers 1 mortal wound in addition. It's a 2 damage power sword, but it's -4. So, some decent stuff there, and I like it. Stratagems, however, this is where the Salamanders come alive. So I'm just going to point out some of the main ones that I think are very, very good. Flamecraft, 2 CP, Don't roll the dice to determine the number of shots. Just get the maximum. If you've been and watched the battle report, you'll see that on aggressors, that is absolutely terrifying. So for 2 CP, that is absolutely worth it. The other one that goes with that, right? Aggressors want to shoot twice. They want to stay still, but getting into range with the flamers is always the issue, okay? Yes, they can advance and shoot. However, you wouldn't get to shoot twice. But if you use Relentless Determination, you can move, but not advance. And for 1 CP, you count as having remained stationary, which means your aggressors get to shoot twice. And if you combined it with this stratagem, you've basically got 120 flamer shots from 5 aggressors, which is horrendously good because they're automatically hitting. Get yourself a lieutenant nearby with those, and if you are on turn 2 with the tactical doctrine active, it means you're +1 to wound as well. That means you're wounding things on toughness 7 on 4s with flamers. You can also use Rites of Vulcan in conjunction with that, and because it's for the whole phase, these would stack. So any 6s to wound are at -1 AP. Again, if you get yourself in the right position, you can target 2 or 3 units quite easily. If that's not enough though, the Relentless Determination stratagem, if you have a damage table, you count the number of wounds as double what you have. So that is actually pretty decent on dreadnoughts and vehicles. It's a double-edged sword because it counts for 2 different purposes, which is a little bit frustrating because obviously you might want to use that on a repulsor to double its wounds, but if it moves, you don't suffer the penalty anyway. But then again, the Executioner, if you count as remaining stationary, then you can shoot the main gun twice. So actually, I think on Executioners, that's going to be pretty good. The other one that we have is where is it? The Crucible of Battle, 1 CP. Use this stratagem in the shooting phase or fight phase when a Salamanders unit from your army is chosen to shoot or fight with. Until the end of that phase, add 1 to the to wound roll. So if you put that on your aggressors, you suddenly wound in toughness 7 vehicles and monsters on 3s with your flamers whilst the tactical doctrine is active, which becomes pretty good at, even weight of dice, you're going to take out things with more wounds. Of course, you could also use that if your aggressors end up charging. You can get an additional +1 to wound from them, which basically turns them into Blood Angels. So you're swinging at strength 8 with their power fists. Of course, you're then wounding on +1 to wound as well. And if you don't kill what you're in combat with, Immolation Protocols. Change the weapon type of all flame weapons to pistol. Which means suddenly, if you combine any of these, you potentially got 5 guys would have pistol 6 twice. So you've suddenly got 120 pistol shots in combat that are automatically hitting. It's just horrendously good. There's a number of other things that you can do. Fires of Battle, you can do 1 addition. You can do 1 mortal wound on a 4+. It's okay. Strength of the Primarch, you can add 1 to the strength characteristics of models. So again, if you made the aggressors strength 5, they become strength 10. You wounded knights on 3s. You use the Crucible of Battle, you wounded them on 2s, which is fantastic. You've then got Despite the Odds. This one's interesting. So if you don't score any tactical objectives, you can pay 1 CP and just draw another card and see if you scored it during that turn. You've got Self-Sacrifice, which basically you select the Salamander's infantry unit, and until the end of the phase, enemy units cannot target any other infantry units from your army that are within 6 inches of the selected unit, unless that unit is closest to the enemy unit and is firing and is visible. So you can kind of make, if you've got a tough unit there up in the front, you can force your opponent to have to shoot them until they're dead. Before moving on. 2 CP, Rise from the Ashes. I like this one. It's basically Necron reanimation protocols. When your character dies, roll a dice, and on a 4+, he gets back up at the end of the phase. That's pretty good. There's one here to reroll hit rolls for when you're fighting Word Bearers, Iron Warriors, Night Lords, or Alpha Legion. There is Stand Your Ground. So until the end of that phase when you use this, when resolving attack made by a weapon that has a damage characteristic of 1 against the model, add 1 to your saving throws. So if you combine that with the fact that you're ignoring -1 for being Salamanders, you know, you can protect your aggressors quite well and give them a 2-up save. And of course, if you put them in cover, you're technically on a 1-up as well. We've got Bomb Protectors, which basically allows a unit to fire Overwatch when a friendly unit within 12 of them is charged. You can then heroically intervene 2d6 with them. So again, you know, anything that you've got that's, you know, pretty tough or can fight, it can actually be a Dreadnought as well. So a Dreadnought firing Overwatch and then heroic intervening 2d6 is pretty decent. You've got Exemplar of Promethean Greed, so you can take an extra Warlord trait. Again, there's a couple there that's pretty decent. Master Artisans, you can give a Sergeant one of the special issue war gear. And the Trusted Prometheus, you can take an actual Salamander relic if you're a successor chapter. So some pretty good combinations in there. I like them a lot. The Promethean Discipline I think is okay. There's a couple of decent things in there, but I'm not overly fussed on all of these. They are very, very fluffy though if you play Salamanders. So we've got Flame and Blast, which is a casting value of 6. Pick an enemy unit within 24 invisible. Roll 1d6 for each enemy unit within 3 inches of that point on the battlefield. And on a 4+, they suffer 1 mortal wound. So it's a mini orbital bombardment. Fire Shield is a casting value of 6. Select a friendly Salamanders unit within 18. And until the start of your next psychic phase, when resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon against that unit, subtract 1 from the hit rolls. In addition, when a charge roll is made for a charge that unit is targeted, subtract 1. So again, you know, if you're chucking your aggressors forward and you're being very defensive with them, aggressive to get into the objectives, but then want to stick on it, Fire Shield will help keep them alive that little bit longer, in conjunction with the +1 to the save as well. Burning Hands is a warp charge value of 6 if manifested. Then until the start of your next psychic phase, when resolving an attack made by a close combat weapon by the Psyker, if a hit is scored, the target suffers 1 mortal wound and the attack sequence ends. So basically you can turn them into a mortal wound output machine. You've just simply got to hit and you do a mortal wound for hitting. Drake Skin, casting value of 6, pick a friendly Salamanders unit within 12. Until the start of your next psychic phase, add 1 to the toughness characteristic of that unit. Toughness 6 aggressors. You get where I'm going with this book. I think aggressors are very, very good in this book for sure. Fury of Nocturne has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select 1 enemy unit within 18 invisible and roll 2d6. If the result is greater than the highest toughness, you suffer d3 mortal wounds. It's too unreliable. You need a 6 to get it off, then you've got to roll 2d6 and beat the toughness to then do d3 mortal wounds. It's too much of an ask just to do d3 mortal wounds. And then Draconic Aspect. Casting value of 6. Subtract 2 from the leadership characteristic of models in enemy units whilst they're within 12 of the Psyker. It's okay. I think Fire Shield and Drake Skin are pretty decent, and I think Burning Hands is very good as well, so that you can, you know, do damage with your librarian. So I like the Salamander book a lot, guys. Listen, I really, really fancy a Salamander army, and I think there's quite a few things in there that I would like to build and paint up. Go and check out the battle report, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this review, and go and enjoy the battle report as well.